Well, the Vancouver Games wrap up on Sunday. So far, we have 17 medals. Puts us in fourth place behind the U.S. and Germany and Norway. So clearly, Canada has not owned the podium. But does that mean the program was a complete failure? Joining us with his insights and expertise is Nick Bontis, an award-winning professor from the DeGroote School of Business. Nice to have you with us again. So let's talk about these Olympics. The federal government spent $117 million over the last 5 years, and we certainly are not atop of the medal standing. So is this a complete write-off, a failure in your mind?
Happy Friday to you, Taz.
Thank you so much.
I absolutely think this is a wonderful investment. $117 million over 5 years. Let's think about that for a second. There's 30 million people that live in Canada, over 30 million. That means that we spent $4 for each Canadian over the last 5 years, basically $1 a year for each Canadian to feel the spirit and the warmth and the excitement that we felt over the last couple of weeks. And let me tell you something. I don't know about you guys, but I've been, shedding a tear every now and then watching these Olympians win these gold medals. And you know what? We've got 8 gold medals, as much as anybody else. We got men's curling tonight, women's curling tonight. We still have hockey coming up. We could still win more gold than anybody else at the Olympic Games. So in my opinion, $120 million, Taz, has been a wonderful investment. In fact, I think for future Olympics, we should probably crank it up a little bit more. Maybe $10 for each Canadian for the wonderful spirit and excitement that we felt over the last couple of weeks.
Certainly has been a surge in patriotism. And let's not forget a large number of 4th and 5th places that haven't exactly counted, but very close finishes from, there was Eric Gay not too long ago. So a lot of those. Let's talk about the gold medal finishes. So what does a gold medal win in a high profile sport, say like ice dancing, where we saw Tessa Virtue and Scott Moir? What is that going to bring to these athletes?
Well, a gold medal is worth a lot of money in terms of endorsement deals. For Canadians that win gold medals, I estimate about at least $500,000 in endorsement deals. Wow. For Americans, probably a little bit more, maybe $1 million, because the market is larger. But we're looking at specific parameters for endorsement deals. For example, are they articulate? Alex Bilodeau is francophone as well, so that's going to bode well for him in the Quebec marketplace. And of course, are they attractive individuals? Can they be spokespeople for their products? So I believe that Virtue and Moir are going to have fantastic endorsement deal opportunities. They're very, very young. And they have a wonderful story, Taz. They've been together since they were 7 and 9 years old, and one corporate sponsor is going to latch on to them and is probably going to stick with them for the next 2 Olympics, at least another 8 years, I believe.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great stories coming out of the Olympics. Big story this week in Washington, of course, Toyota, the head honcho going to Washington, falling on his sword, as many have said before testifying. The question is something going to come out of this? Is there going to see change, or was this just an exercise in theatrics?
Well, it was quite a flop out there in Washington, D.C., and I understand that he's been invited now to come to Ottawa. So here's my message to CEO Toyota from me. Mr. Toyota, do not go to Ottawa. There's no point. They're just going to beat up on you again like they did in Washington. There's only one thing you need to do, sir, CEO. And you know what? There's an ancient Chinese word that is the same for opportunity and crisis. You are in a crisis mode right now, turn it into an opportunity. And the opportunity for you, Mr. Toyota, is to bow deeply, say that you're sorrowful, but now invent the best brakes on the planet so that you leapfrog ahead of all the other car manufacturers that are also going to have problems with their brakes eventually. But because of this opportunity, because of this crisis, you took a chance and you innovated something that's spectacular, moving Toyota forward into the marketplace.
Interesting. Well, let's talk now about Walmart. Despite this current economic climate, Walmart says it's going to be opening, I think it's 35 to 40 superstores in this country. The question everyone wants to know is, how are they able to do this, and what can we learn from this company?
Well, one of the things that they can do is economies of scale. When you're big, it's easier to get bigger.
Yes. Bringing
a Walmart into, a community actually brings taxes, it brings jobs, and for the consumer, everyday low prices, and everybody loves that. So Walmart has this economies of scale. They have this grand scale throughout the world, so which means that their costs are significantly lower than some of our own domestic retailers. That's why they can go into communities that don't have a Walmart in place already and actually launch a store there, and consumers will benefit, I believe.
Besides the consumers, who else is going to benefit from some of these stores opening up? Because I imagine the tax base is going to be huge on this.
Well, tax base, property taxes will benefit, but also when Walmart goes into locations, they typically go into what is called clustering of big box stores, which means it's just not Walmart that's going to be there. Walmart might be the main tenant, but you'll have other box stores that'll kind of piggyback beside Walmart. You're going to have fast food outlets there as well. You might have a couple of Tim Hortons there as well. So a lot of other tangential clustering organizations also benefit from Walmart coming in.
You get the anchor tenant in and everyone else follows.
That's right.
Okay, there must be a flip side to this. I'm sure small businesses are not happy with this announcement that more Walmarts are opening up. Can't be good for them.
No, this is the problem here. When Walmart comes into a small community, you know, small organizations, they suffer, unfortunately. They just don't have the variety of the products to offer, and they just don't have the economies of scale to discount the prices as low as they need to. But you know what small organizations do offer? That's personalized service. And we've seen this before in another industry, and that's hardware. When Home Depot and the Ronas came in, a lot of the small mom and pop shop hardware stores were starting to feel a huge amount of negative pressure. But you know what they did? They jacked up the personalized service so that when customers came in, they felt like they were number one. And a lot of those small mom and pop shop hardware stores actually kept their customers, Taz.
That is a very interesting point. Well, in a similar vein, Canada Bread Company announced this week that it's going to be building a state-of-the-art facility in Glanbrook with plans to open in, I think it's 2011. Similarly, how are they able to do this, and what are the economic spin-offs for say, Hamilton, Glanbrook?
Well, thank you very much first for Canada Bread coming into the community.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. Now, why are they coming? Well, obviously, it's cheaper to do business here in Glanbrook than it might be somewhere in the GTA. Costs of utilities, costs of property taxes, just total overhead costs are cheaper. And the benefits for our community, of course, are an increased tax base. I understand there might be 300 some odd employees. Those individuals are going to have to pay tax as well, which means consumption and consumerism are going to increase. So what Canada Bread has done is basically gone into a community that really needs that bolstering of economic impact at a cheaper base, and I think this community here around Glanbrook is going to benefit in the long run.
Okay, well, if you haven't already read this, of course, the deadline to contribute to your RRSPs is looming. Monday night at midnight is the deadline. I'm sure you've already put some money away. What is your advice now to say the retiree at home that doesn't have a lot of money left in their nest egg? Is it still an important investment?
So here's the situation, Taz. You got 3 days. Time to stop procrastinating. And let me tell you, I procrastinate too. In fact, I just did my RSP investments this morning. But if you're looking at close to retirement, if you're a senior type of investor, you definitely need to modify your portfolio to more income types of products. So if you have mutual funds, you know, you might move out of some of those equity funds towards some of those bond or income funds, because your time horizon for investment is shorter. So you want to be safe. You want to make sure that you keep that capital base. On the flip side, if you're a young investor, let's say 20 or 30 years old, you still got 30 years left until retirement. So you have a very long horizon, which means you should be in equity and growth stocks because it's going to grow over the long run. And that way, you'll be able to make more of your investment. If you do that investment, make sure you do it before Monday midnight.
Yeah, especially important since Canadians are living longer, so you've got to squirrel away more money for that future.
Right.
One last question,
Sure.
Running out of time. If you have a limited cash flow, you've got debts to pay off, you want to put money away for your RRSPs, how do you decide which one you put money into first?
Okay, very simple advice. First things first, if you have credit cards that are charging 20% plus in interest rates, you got to pay those off first. In terms of mortgages, don't worry about that because we're still at low interest rates. Take any excess cash that you have, put it into an RSP contribution. Before Monday, go visit your bank, speak to an advisor. They'll help tell you where to put that money.
You can't stress that enough.
No.
Well, we appreciate your time and expertise. That is Nick Bontis on business. Check out his website, nickbontis.com. Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks, Taz.
Thank you.